I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, April the 15th, tax day, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Mita. Macrocin is a telithromycin injection, basically a generic Draxin. It's a bold, straight shooter that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and most importantly for your bottom line. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, the regular feeder cattle sale here on Monday, they're expecting about 6,000 head, and they're not going to get started till 7, so they'll sleep in a little bit for them. Don't forget, the special cow sale is this week, and it's on Friday. It's normally on Wednesday, but this week it's on Friday, and it's going to be, that's April the 19th. They're going to be at 4:30 in the afternoon. They'll have a good selection there. Bred cows and pairs and things like that. So don't forget that they have a day change on that special cow sale. Everything is bearish cattle when it comes to the board. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything could be a black swan. And we're getting so frustrated with that. A lot of your cattle people, especially your cattle grazers, your cow-calf people, they hate the board. And this week we found out that USDA is kind of short on money, so they're going to start pulling some of the reports that they do, including the mid-year inventory report. And I'm not seeing how that's going to save any money. Are they going to let any people go? Doubtful. You know, all those plans are set up in their computers. The computers are still there. Not sure how they're going to save money not putting some of those reports out. I think they could save more money by not putting out the monthly cattle on feed report. And I'm for that. If we could do away with the monthly cattle on feed report, I think most people would be happy about that. But instead, we're not going to have the mid-year cattle inventory report that comes out in the summer. There's been times when they haven't done that report whenever they had interruptions in government funding there, but how they're saving any money by not doing that, I don't understand. But you know, we've had the bird flu fiasco that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and I think the bird flu deal is mostly behind us. I think if we had been testing the last 30 years, we would find that the bird flu, avian influenza, shows up more places than we thought it was at. It popped up in some dairy cows in the southern plains there, and we haven't found any results of it really spreading from cow to cow. We haven't seen any of it in any beef breed cattle or in any feedlots or anything like that. The big deal about the bird flu this time is it was found in a human, in a dairy worker. He had some pink eye symptoms there for a couple of days and got over it. And likely he's back to stealing unpasteurized milk from the tank. So I think the bird flu deal, they played that up, and I'm talking about your funds that want to push the board down because they know it's kind of top heavy, and they're just looking for any kind of excuse or a black swan to beat it down. But now we've got a new war, and that's what they were playing on late in the week when the board crashed there on Friday. And Iran has attacked Israel. So Israel's a Jewish state, Iran is an Arab state there, so we shouldn't really have a dog in the race. But we have vowed to protect Israel. It's the only democracy over there. It's completely overgunned there. Every neighbor they have is an enemy. And we're trying to protect them, protect the Holy Land, and all that kind of thing. But the attacks that came out there late last week were fairly staged. I mean, they said, "Hey, we're going to send some drones over, and they're gonna be able to attack you. We're going to wait until you get your defense missiles set up and everything ready to go. Okay, now we're going to send them." And then they started sending them, and they had plenty of time to get ready for them. And of course, we took part in knocking some of those down. Okay, now we're going to send some bigger type missiles, and then they come over and we shot all of them down. Okay, we're done. That's all we're going to do. You know, I hope that taught you guys a good lesson. And now we're waiting on Israel to retaliate. And you know, it's kind of a joke over there. But the Iranian people seemed very excited that they were attacking Israel. And Iran is one of those countries over there in the Middle East that's been in war since the beginning of time. For centuries, Iran has been involved in some kind of a war, whether it was a civil war or a war against their neighbors or whoever it was. Maybe it was terrorism that they support over there. And for that reason, Iran has pretty much been relegated to just rocks and goat shit. That's all it is. You know, nobody craves to go to Iran. And, you know, it's just one of those states or one of those countries that just needs to be leveled into a parking lot. But there's nothing going on around there where people would like to park. So, you know, the whole Iran-Israel deal, yeah, you know, they think maybe it could be World War III, depending on who's rooting for one side or the other, or who is supportive of the terrorism that Iran supports there. But what's that got to do with the cattle market? Absolutely nothing. I mean, literally, absolutely nothing. But like I said, everything is bearish cattle. It doesn't matter what the hell happens, wherever it is, all over the globe. Your funds that love for the market to go up and down, they enjoyed it going up. Now they can't wait for it to go down. They're going to use that for an excuse to kill it. And it's so frustrating, and especially your feeder board, it's so shallow there. They can just pick a number on the wall and make it that number if they want to. But very, very frustrating, and now it's all computerized and nobody has a feel for it whatsoever at all. But you know, this board deal, watching the board go up and down every day, just nervous looking at it every day, is really, really wearing cattle people out. What else did we see? We found out that our president likes to wear shades. And so even if it's a cloudy day, and as rude as that is, he's going to do you know, interviews. He's going to do press releases. He's going to do you know, talking with a big leader from another country in Asia. He's going to do those interviews with his shades on, thinking that it hides his dementia-ridden eyes. But there's nothing more rude than wearing shades whenever you're talking on camera, or you're talking, and that's one thing that always frustrated me about NASCAR. Everybody thought they had to wear their shades while they're talking to somebody, but it's really getting ridiculous how they just keep hiding his level of incompetence. But and I know I'll have some people on here say, oh, I think Biden's great. Really? Okay, well, whatever. Let's talk about your board for last week. April live cattle futures. Monday was up $1.15. Tuesday was up $1.30. And then it started to crash. Wednesday down 162. Thursday live cattle are actually up 117, and then Friday down 135. And that's all on your current spot month there. And it has to get at least close to converging. If we could demand delivery, if your longs could demand delivery, we might get some interest from some people that would like to have some of those cheaper fat cattle there. But your April live cattle futures ended the week at 178.90, square in the middle of your spot month when the cash market is many dollars higher than that. But that 178.90 was up 65 cents for the week. June live cattle 171.47. Wow. 171.47. Were we not getting $1.90.91 for fat cattle here just a couple of weeks ago? And now they're saying here in a couple of weeks, when June is our spot month, that's what we've got to look at, is 171.47, down 58 cents for the week. And those weren't big losses for the week. It was just jostling back and forth. Feeder cattle, a little bit different story. Of course, your spot month on feeder cattle is going to converge with your CME cash feeder cattle index here in just a couple of weeks. So it can't get too far away from it, but it is looking at about a $7 basis right now. at the end of last week. But Monday on April, feeder cattle were up 160. Tuesday was up 140. Wednesday down 242. Thursday up 90 cents, and then Friday down 157, with your back months on Friday down a ton. But April feeder cattle, your spot month, 237.60. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index was 244.57. They will come together, guys. But that 237.60 was only down 10 cents for the week, but a lot of volatility in it. Now you get to your back months, it gets a lot worse. Just May feeder cattle, 234.20, down 397 for the week, and that was similar for all your out front months from there. Corn for May, 435.5 to end the week. That was up 1 1/4 cent. May beans 11.74, down 11 cents. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for May was up 7.5 cents at 5.89 3/4. And the CME, of course, they don't want to pay anything for anything, and they want paid for everything. We did notice this past week they've been threatening it and then kind of putting it off, but indeed now your CME does not even post timely settlements on their own website. You can't even find out that day's afternoon what your CME, your cattle futures and ag futures ended for that day on their own website. They want you to pay for that somewhere else and get it somewhere else. They are really out to help the ag industry there, aren't they? How about your fat cattle trade? Up through Thursday of last week, we had only sold 39,100 head. And your live sales, fat steers and heifers in your 5 area range from 181 to 189. That was uneven, from $2 lower to $2 higher. But your weighted average is where it's at. Your weighted average up through Thursday was 183.93, down $1.80 from the end of last week on your weighted average on live steers. Dressed steers and heifers ranged in price from $288 to $301. Again, very uneven, from down 7 cents to up as much, or $7 to up as much as $3 a hundred. But your weighted average on dressed steers through Thursday of last week was $293.64, down $323 from the close of business the previous week there on dressed steers. As a whole, your Northern Plains sold live sales from $2 to $3 lower, from 184 to 185. Dress sales $4 lower, mostly 293. Southern Plains was $2 lower at 182. Then on Friday we had a little more trade. Iowa sold 3,100 on Friday, 22,300 for the week. Live sales on Friday towards the bottom of the price range from 182 to 185. Dress sales from 290 to 293. Nebraska sold 10,400 on Friday. They kept hoping for that market to get higher, and then when they tanked the board on Friday, everybody had to give up. 10,400 on Friday, 16,400 for the week. Live sales on Friday, 184 to 185. Dress sales 293 to 295. Kansas only sold 700 on Friday, 13,200 for the week. Live sales in Kansas on Friday, 181 to mostly 182. Texas sold 1,700 on Friday, or they wouldn't have sold hardly any, only 3,000 for the week. And the live sales in Texas had a spread from 181 to 182. It wasn't all mostly 182. There was some guys that had to give up at 181. Box beef cutout values were lower, but not significantly lower for the week. Your weighted average on all of last week's choice cut sales stayed over $300 at $300.27. That was down 84 cents for the week. And at the end of the week, it closed actually 30 cents higher than that at $300.57. Your weighted average on all your select cuts last week was $297.38, down 31 cents. And your end of the week sales on select cuts was a couple bucks lower than that, $295.50 about. Choice select spread on your weighted average last week was just under $3, and that's all on 582 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter actually come out maybe a tick better than what we thought, and your packers have been able to whittle down on your slaughter. They've slowed the change down to nearly nothing. They've actually backed up the fat cattle a little bit, where now they kind of have the leverage on your feeders just in time for all these black swans, or so-called black swans, and then your funds tanking the board. So nobody expected us to be in this situation right now, but here we are. Slaughter for the week, 603,000. That was 10,000 less than the previous week, 8,000 less than the same week a year before. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer, ended the week at 243.50. That was down almost $4 for the week, down $3.98. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, as I mentioned earlier, ended the week at 244.57, the latest available. It's going to go down big before it comes out again. But there was no Friday and no Saturday sales included in that CME cash feeder cattle index. Your trends in your feeder cattle auctions, your big heavy feeders going into the feed yard were $8 to $10 lower for the week. Actually, we saw some recovery midweek, and some of your midweek sales actually sold your big 8 and 9 weight steers and heifers pretty well. But then late in the week, on Friday and Saturday, they came back down again, as much as your early week sales were down, and then just all because of the board. Your new crop calves also down big, $10 to $15. It's starting to heat up, guys. Most of your grazing orders have been filled, and they don't want to do it with softballing calves. Now your true stockers, your long-time wean calves, and your lightweight yearlings for stocking, they were kind of uneven and actually showed some strength there, especially close to your major grazing areas there in Kansas and Oklahoma. But your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day, late last week or over the weekend, was Fort Pierre, South Dakota. They had 5,300 head on offer. The market was sharply lower. They just had more cattle on offer than anybody else. You look at this automated market report and check their market there. They sold 388 head of 6-weight steers in Fort Pierre. They averaged 653 at 290.19. 225 head of 7-weight steers in Fort Pierre, South Dakota, averaged 752 at 257.22. And 283 head of 8-weight steers averaged 867 at 242.62. They had more heifers. 499 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 545 at 299.63. 521 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 655 at 267.79. And 333 head of 7-weight heifers in Fort Pierce, South Dakota had a weighted average weight of 743, weighted average price of 244.34. Give you some individual quotes from around. Mexican steers sold good in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Santa Teresa livestock market there. 86 head of light steers there weighed 453 and bring 294 with that M on their hip, guys. How about up in the upper Midwest there at Lanesboro Sales Commission, Lanesboro, Minnesota. They sell 67 head of dairy Holstein steers, weighed 455 at 241. But the most impressive quote that we saw late last week or over the weekend, and your Macrocin no BS top quote for the day, indeed come out of Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota. It was 63 steers, weighed 820, still bring 260. That's your feeder flash for Monday.